Hi. I'm going to do the usual and wait till one person is here so I can make sure that that this is working. This is a particularly nerve-wracking video for me to make because I'm going to share some things that I have never shared before, and that always makes me nervous. So, the power of divine love. We know that's the reason that we're here. I've been getting information, somebody's here, so it's working. I've been getting information about divine partnerships for the last 3 weeks. Higher self keeps bringing the information. I keep writing it down, but not sharing it. A few people have asked me why I'm not sharing it. And maybe it's partially because I feel like the least qualified person on the planet to give relationship advice or discuss relationships. That's part of it. Part of it is it connects to a set of information that I've never talked about before. I don't have guides anymore or off-planetary connections that I've had my entire life. Those disappeared in June of 2019. And they came to me and they said that you are not going to have guides anymore. You don't need guides anymore. You are the one that's going to become the guide now. Now, my question is, if I don't have any guides, what am I using for information to guide people with, right? So I kind of sat pretty silent for a couple months and just really didn't say much of anything. I didn't write anything. I wasn't really posting anything, and I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do or how I was supposed to create content without the guidance to create content. Lesson in self-trust. So I've been getting this information about divine partnerships for 3 weeks. I've been writing it down and I'm just not doing anything with it. So 3 weeks into this, higher self comes back and asks me how the video on divine partnership is going. I just laughed, and again, still not doing anything with that information. My reply to that was, I want to talk about the grids. I want to talk about planetary consciousness. I want to talk about all these other things that are very exciting to me. I don't really want to talk about relationships. So I'll tell you how that played out for me. So I booked 3 readings in a row. The first 2 were relationship readings, and the third reading was a reading about someone's mission in particular and what that person was doing. I'm getting blinded by the sun here. Try to adjust that. So those 3 readings came to me, 2 about relationships, 1 specifically about mission. Each reading was about a different group of humanity working within a specific grid and doing very specific tasks, which I thought was funny because until I had done the grid reading, grids were not coming. The first grid reading, which was my last video that I did, there was no correlation. There was no correlation in this between divine partnerships and the grid. We know that everything's connected, but it still had not exactly quite hit me what was going on. So I go back to read through the majority of the readings that I've done now, which is probably 35 or 40 readings, because I'm a nerd like that. Grid work has just been my entire life. And higher self comes to me and says, do you see a pattern here in these relationships readings, now that you're seeing all this grid information? come through, because what they said was the relationship template and the Earth's grids are the exact same entity. To work within one is to work within another. So what you and other people are doing within yourselves and within your partnerships are a direct link to divine love and the expanded consciousness that is altering the grids. So here to me comes the part that's a little bit difficult for me to talk about. I brought this up to someone last week, and this is probably the only second person I've ever shared this with. I was told about 2 years ago that I was the Athenic light grid. Now when I started to tell this to a friend of mine, they said that's a really egoic standpoint. That's really egoic way to look at what you're doing. And so I just stopped myself from going any further. And that's one of the reasons I didn't want to go into this. We're constantly talking about losing the ego. So where that pertains to now is what I was told a couple years ago was that I was the Athenic light grid. So the Athenic light grid is a light grid within the cosmos, within our particular universe, that connects all the planets, all the stars, all the different suns. It connects everything together. And everything we do on Earth and everything that is done on Venus or any other planet or any other star system within our universe affects this Athenic light grid. What we do within 3D, 5D, and 12D grid work also affects the light grid. So I am surely not the only person. Sometimes things that just get explained to us in a way that's easier for us to understand. So when they explained to me what the Athenic light grid was, I understood that that was a pretty easy concept, and actually I had been channeling drawings about connections of different star systems and suns within our universe, most of which science will not admit that are there. But anyway, that connection to the light grid, so I am the direct connection to the Athenic light grid. Now, I didn't make the correlation between being the Athenic light grid and working with people in the power of divine relationships until literally this morning. Because, so 2 days ago, Higher Self came to me and said, focus on divine partnership readings, soulmate readings, twin flame readings. So I'm like, come on, I don't, this is just not what I want to do. So hence them coming to me with the explanation that it is all very, very connected. And also within that Athenic grid, like I said, it may not be me. There may be thousands of us working within that Athenic grid, or thousands of us that are directly connected to that Athenic grid. There's also, as they've been explaining to me for 3 years, I've been getting messages about Apollo, which made no sense. Initially, I went to look up Apollo and see where we stood with that as far as mythology and legend, and I got a couple of paragraphs into it and realized this had nothing to do with what they're talking about. Part of Greek mythology that comes through is correct, and there are some things in there, but the bigger picture of what I was receiving is Apollo was the energy of the sun that somehow within his body, or within the body of the divine male was able to, or intentionally causing solar flares to happen on Earth in this particular solar cycle and in this particular 26,000 year cycle. So the divine masculine is working with that Apollo energy of the sun. Speaking of the sun, it's blinding me. And then the Athenic light grid connection is receiving that sun, that code, and taking that and disseminating it down into information, breaking that code down into information for all of us. So the gist of this is, by me working with couples, by doing relationship readings, it is what you are doing specifically within the grid, and also how that particular task or specific part that you play is in direct correlation with your divine partnership and what that looks like. Hi guys. So I know better than to look at the screen, because my ADD, my spiritual ADD kicks in, and then I'm all over the place more than I already am. So why am I telling you this? Because there's a direct correlation between the physical body of the divine male. If you look at the anatomy of the divine masculine and you look at the anatomy of the divine feminine, you can see how that fits. Well, the same exact thing is going on with the energy of Apollo coming through the Athenic light grid and delivering that information to us so that we can work on our self-love, our divine love expansion, our consciousness, awareness, and how that pertains to our relationships, and also how it pertains to balancing our own male and female energy. Sorry, I'm going to see if I can move this and not be blinded by the light of Apollo here. Okay. That'll work until the sun shifts. Oh, hi. So yeah, these grid readings have been extremely interesting. I always like to check with people before, well, I always check with people if it's okay to share their information and what is going on. I have a friend on Facebook who is a sound healer, no surprise, because the majority of people who follow me are of the Blu-ray family, the bird tribe, the wing makers, that winged template, that's our new relationship template. So the friend that I have that is a sound healer, he is pulling people into his sound classes, his sound bath classes. And it's a very, very small group. And I wasn't sure if he knew why he was only attracting a small group of people, but the reason for that is because those people are all working on the new template for divine relationships. And while even there may be 5, 7 people sitting in that sound bath, they are directly transformed by the power of his music to the 5th dimensional crystalline grid and working in that. And all of these grids, as I said in the last video, work together. So the stuff that you guys are doing is amazing. It's really been blowing my mind. One of the reasons why I knew that this was a time when I really needed to bring this up, I really needed to talk about this, was because there is a large group of us, and that would be all of you watching this video now, that are encompassing within your DNA the new divine blueprint for relationships. So we have within us, we're born within us, within our existing DNA, a relationship template for 3D, and that encompasses everything in 3D that we go through in relationships. Now, obviously, as we become more multidimensional and we experience our higher self, our guides, and things outside of us that are here to assist us, we work on that relationship template. And this has come up in probably the last 10 readings. So we have a relationship template right here. We have a new relationship template that is coming down, and they're closer and closer and closer and closer. Why am I telling you this? Because people are, for the last couple years, but really specifically in the last 6 months, are experiencing a real dissonance in their relationship that they never had before in the 3D. You've got some partners experiencing the higher blueprint of what the relationship's supposed to look like, what the relationship is supposed to feel like, and you have a partner that is not experiencing any of those things. So why are you uncomfortable in that situation? It comes down to this. When that blueprint is coming down on top of that other blueprint, anything that's not matching, it starts to feel pressure. Okay, whatever it is, whether it's your differences on politics or the world situation that we're currently experiencing for the last 18 months, whatever that is outside the realm of the new relationship template is going to get pressure, more and more and more pressure on it until you do something about it. The other thing is, because people are trying to be complacent in their relationships and not start arguments, they are hiding themselves and who they are. That's, I think, the biggest reason why Spirit and Higher Self is calling me to do relationship readings, is because we have such an opportunity for conscious expansion on this planet right now, and my higher self and all of your higher selves don't want to see you in that position. And I know that that's a hard decision to make, and I will say that probably half of the people that have come to me for readings now have needed some sort of separation or another from a partner. And I understand that that's hard. If that's not something you're willing to do, and if that's not something you feel like you're able to do, Higher Self is just asking you to not squash who you really are just to avoid a fight. And there's so much of that going on. There's so much of that happening that actually is the reason why I bring it up. So what I mean by this is, let's say that you really love to dance. I'll use that example because I love to dance. And I do it just about every day. It really helps with the expansion of awareness, conscious DNA upgrades, moving from one part of your body to another. But me, as a person who loves to dance, let's say my partner is here and they don't like classical music. And so I just stop dancing, or I have to put on my headphones and try to dance around headphones and chords and all of this stuff. I'm not being who I am because that other person is there. So if I'm not going to get myself out of that uncomfortable situation, then I'm just going to have to be me in my own household. And that will actually solve a lot of the problems, and it may not be the way you think it will solve the problems, and it may not even be the way you would like it to solve your problems. But you've got to be yourself, especially if you're in a situation where you're experiencing these upgrades and all of these other things that are going on, and this other person is not doing it. If you're squashing that inner knowing of who you are and that expression, whatever that expression is, it could be singing at the top of your lungs. I'm guilty of that. It could be playing the guitar or whatever it is. You have to be in a place where you're comfortable, and you have to set aside time doing it, because people keep asking me, and this is very interesting in and of itself, why am I not moving forward in my relationships? Or how can I be more effective in the grid? You can be more effective in your relationships. You can be more effective in the grid by being who you are. Please, please, please don't squash who you are to keep yourself in a comfortable state with someone who's not experiencing the reality that you're experiencing. Okay, the higher vibrational person is always going to have more effect on the lower vibrational person. And what that can look like while you're experiencing the higher dimensions and someone else in your household is experiencing 3D, as being yourself sometimes will cause an explosive argument. Okay, but we still absolutely have to be who we are, no matter what. So that's really important. I just can't express the importance of that enough. The other thing that has come through in the last several divine partnerships readings is how we can alter the grids consciously, because most of us have been doing grid work unconsciously for a really long time. Wow, I just cannot stay out of that sun. But the way that we can actually do that consciously is one of two ways that I was told would be the most effective for right now. One is when you go into that meditative state, you can actually drop things into the grid. Now, as empaths, light workers, we know that we can feel the conscious state of humanity and even the unconscious state of humanity. So, if we can feel what is in that mixing pot of subconscious and unconscious from humanity, we're not just there to pull it out, to be a sponge and to feel all of that. We can put anything we want to. So it comes through in two ways that are highly beneficial for you to do this right now, that work on your grid and also your partnership. And that is when you're in a meditative state, however you get there, doesn't matter. You can intentionally put things into that collective consciousness field, whatever that is, your love for music, your love for gardening, whatever it is, state your intention, drop that into the grid. The other way that's really also very effective in doing that is when you are out doing something you love, or in doing something you love. Let's say I'm dancing and I'm really expressing how I love to dance and how that makes every cell of my body feel. While I'm in the moment of dancing, I can drop that love for what I'm doing into the grid too. Because again, it's so important to know we're not just here to be a sponge for what everybody else is unconsciously throwing in there, okay? We're also here to throw in there what we love, what we want to share with the world, because everything we throw in there is expanded. Everything that we put in there with love is something that everybody else can start feeling. And this really is going to change not only our planet, but our planet, again, connected to that Athenic light grid, means that while we are taking our love for other people, places, and things in our life and putting them into that community pool of emotions and feelings, we can really, really, really alter ourselves, our relationships, and the Athenic grid, which then alters the entire cosmos of the universe. Because this is not a project that is solely about Earth. This is a project, this is a universal project, okay? Apollo and Athena are a universal project. And please don't take this in an egotistical way when I say that I'm the Athenic grid. There could be 10,000 others of you that are also the Athenic grid. You know, but when my guides were explaining that to me, it makes it easier to understand in a certain capacity. They've never told me that I was working alone. They've never told me I was working with a multitude of people there. They just simply told me, you are the Athenic connection, which now, today, finally, after 3 months of doing relationship readings, I actually understand why I'm doing relationship readings, okay? We're working on this big, beautiful project together. And I wrote something that I want to share with you. Geez, I'm back in the sun again. Okay, wow. I have to keep moving locations here. Okay. We all need love. We all need open communication. We all need the inspiration that comes from meeting yourself and another human being. That is the love expansion that we came here to create. That is exactly how we are altering this planet and this universe. So, I'm not even going to ask if you guys have questions. I've been asking for forever if you guys have questions, and you never do. So thank you guys for being here. And I think, if you've been listening to me for a while, I'm not coming ever from a place of ego. I'm coming from a place of teaching and learning. I have been taught for decades, not only by guides, but by some really traumatic and sometimes horrific life experiences. And I used to think that was unfortunate, but there is no way I could be doing what I'm doing right now without those experiences. So I appreciate you guys being here and knowing the fact that I am here because I feel like I can give a portion to you of the puzzle that's going on, that I can assist you in some way. I think the last thing that I want to talk about is readings, because there's been a lot going on around this. The way I do readings, I shouldn't say that because I keep changing things. Okay, so whenever Spirit calls me to change something, I don't debate it, I just change it. So initially I was doing 100% intuitive readings. I then switched that to kind of ask people what they wanted the reading to be about, or whether they wanted higher self to come through and just give the information that higher self wanted to give to you. Now I'm being asked to focus on specifically on relationships, if it's a reading that pertains to mission or what you're doing as a planetary whole, that comes through in the relationship. No matter what you're choosing, whatever higher self wants to come through is going to come through. I do have something pinned to the top of my wall about readings, information for you guys. The way I do it is I take money through PayPal first, and then I start on the reason. The reason that I do it this way is, first of all, I could just sit there and book as many readings as I wanted to do in a day. I don't do that. I walk for a minimum of an hour, and I go into a meditative state for an hour. I pull cards, I talk to higher self, and then I do automatic writing, and whatever comes through is basically what you're going to get, that revolves around what your question is. That being said, there's been some confusion around this. We can do a video call through Messenger. We can do the old-fashioned telephone call. I can send voice clips. I've done it that way too. But know that when I talk to you, there is sometimes extra information that comes through that doesn't come through in the written form. But I am always willing to, and I have beautiful handwriting most of the time. So I'm perfectly willing. In the last 4 people that had readings, I took pictures of the written information and or typed it. I would prefer to not have to type it. But if you want me to take a picture of the information, each page, and send it to you page by page, I'll do that. Because what I find is people get excited in the conversation when I'm talking to you, other information comes through, and then I get excited, and it kind of goes back and forth in this energetic, symbiotic thing that happens. And then you don't remember, if you've done chosen video, you really don't remember a whole lot about what I've said. So that's why I've decided to start doing it that way. So, the last and final thing, and I really didn't know if I wanted to talk about this because I don't really want to put any kind of negativity on in my own life, or put negativity out there on the projector field. I have been asked to share this with you also for the last couple weeks. We have to think of Facebook as a projector. What am I putting on Facebook? Is it something I want to create more of in my reality? Do I want to tell you how much I love and appreciate you and what my latest messages are? Or do I want to kind of talk about old earth and corruption and things like that? That's why I'm not focusing on it. Remember, you have a great ability in relationships and even with yourself to project things out into the world. And for me, Facebook is a projector. Do I feel like shit sometimes? Absolutely. Do I cry my heart out sometimes when things don't go my way? Absolutely. Do I get on Facebook when I feel that way? I absolutely do not, because I don't want to intensify what I'm going through. The other reason for that, and I've seen this a lot, and I kind of wondered why it was happening. I asked, and this is the answer that I received. People get really angry, or they get in a fight with someone, or something bad happens. They immediately go to Facebook and let it out. It's good to release it and discuss it, don't get me wrong. But here's the major thing about doing that. When you're feeling very fiery, or things are coming to the surface, whether it's because you've had an argument or dissonance or disagreement with someone, or because of solar flares pushing that lower frequency out of your body. If you get on Facebook or on the phone with your mother or whatever else in the middle of being upset, you don't allow the flow of water that comes after the fire. So the flow of water is just being fluid, going with the moment. There is a reason that you're feeling that pain. A really important thing for you to look at is why I'm feeling that pain. Now, if you are on Facebook talking about it with 100 people, or on the phone with your best friend discussing it, you're cutting it off before the message comes. You get really fiery, you get angry, the argument happens. You need to calm down, do something, take a walk, meditate, whatever it is, because every time that anger surfaces or that fiery emotion comes up, the flow comes after that, and the information comes through about why that happened, about what you're letting go of. And that's the process. I'm not telling you what to do. I hate feeling like, as a teacher, I hate feeling like I'm telling someone what to do. But I am telling you it'll be much more beneficial for you if in that state of fearing, the discomfort that's coming out of you in that moment. Let yourself be angry, let yourself cry, because as soon as you're done letting that out, the information flows. All right? Okay, thanks. Thanks for watching, guys, and thanks for listening. I really appreciate it. I love you guys very much, and I very much appreciate working with you in this way. It's very helpful. I have had people kind of give me a hard time about charging for readings, but I will tell you that this is what I'm supposed to do, because, again, it goes back to the correlation between divine partnerships and all of the grids that we're working in, and all of you are doing this. So that's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. I have, in some way, shape, form, or capacity, my entire working life, which has been 30-something years, wow, I'm old, has been in a physical way. Even no matter what components, there was always a really harsh physical way to doing that. And so I asked the universe how I could help, how I could assist, how I could teach, how I could be of service, and really pay my bills. That was the problem. I mean, I stopped working for 4 months. So if I was in the space that I could help every single person for free, I would. People that have been following me for the last 4 years know that I have been counseling people and assisting people through Messenger for free for a multitude of years. I also share the information from readings that I feel is applicable to everyone. That's another way of helping. But I also have to be, and I have pretty minimal requirements here, but I have to be able to pay my way. Because while in 5D, in those higher dimensions, we won't need those things anymore. We're not there yet. Our body is still in 3D. We still have rent in 3D. So, I have also been doing one free reading a week. And so I guess if that's something you're interested in, you can make a comment in this video as well. I do have a hard time keeping up with that. And I keep saying this, but one more thing to say. Keep in mind that I'm really super happy to hear your feedback about videos and about the things that I write and the things that I share. but please know that it works better for me if you share with me in that way, by making a comment on the video instead of reaching out to me, because the last time I made a video, I couldn't keep up with Messenger for absolute hours. So, and sometimes I know it's something personal, and if it's, you know, personal and you don't want it to be a comment on a public video, I completely understand. Go ahead and message me. Feel free to do that. But otherwise, please make a comment on that video, because I feel like as the teacher sometimes I'm really learning boundaries. I have to be able to turn it off, and then through Messenger I feel a little bit like I want to, or I need to answer everyone and help everyone out with that. Okay. All right, I think that's it. You guys never ask any questions, as I've already mentioned. If you do have any questions specifically about what I'm talking about now, or something that you would like information on in the future, I can also do a video regarding those things. All right. Love you guys. I'm doing more videos and writing now, and the reason is Higher Self said basically I could get on here and read a book or sing a song if I wanted to. There's a voice activation that I'm giving you, so that's part of it. But I also like the teaching to be a big part of the voice activation, and the teaching together is a much bigger delivery. I know that. I've known that for a while. I've been told that. But again, making videos sometimes makes me nervous, and I have to do it, or I want to put a hat on. It's my security blanket to hide behind. And I'm trying to get better about it. Practice makes perfect, I guess. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the incredible work that you're doing, not only for this planet, but for this universe. It's why we came here, and you know that. I love you guys. Thank you so much. Bye.